I just realized I was muted that whole time. Let's try that again. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Panda Wrestling Company and the TGN Networks proudly brings to you the most slept on podcast in the world. Super Beard Vince Hoover, Devil God Jamal Jones, wrestling with toxicity. Whew, I will pass out one day from this. I swear to you, it's going to happen.
I'm looking
Wow.
forward to resuscitate you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wrestling with Toxicity. I am, of course, Super Beer Vince Hoover, joined as always by the Devil God Jamal Jones. How you doing today, sir?
I'm all right. I'm here.
Yeah, it's an interesting weekend, right? We'll get into that very
Oh,
soon. As always, thank you for tuning in. We are currently live on the Geeks and Noobs on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/the Geeks and Noobs. If that's where you're finding us, please hit that heart button for a follow. If you feel so gracious, please subscribe. You can always use the Amazon Prime sub to make Jeffrey Bezos pay for it. So that's always an option. We're also live on YouTube at youtube.com/TGN Networks. We are also live on Facebook, facebook.com/The Geeks and Noobs Podcast. We're also live on Trovo, trovo.live/The Geeks and Noobs. And we're also live on the Panda Wrestling Company YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Currently, we are not on Twitch. So we're having some technical difficulties on the PWC side of Twitch. That's all right. They'll get that fixed come tomorrow. But for today, for us and outside the brand, we will not be on the PWC Twitch. Just a second here. For some reason, the Rootless Coffee logo was taken down. I've got it back up because we are brought to you by Rootless Coffee. Go to rootlesscoffee.com for some of the best coffee in the world. And with the code PANDA COFFEE, PANDACOFFEE, you get 15% off all non-branded coffee and all merchandise. Again, that's rootlesscoffee.com, ROOTLESS, coffee.com. Use the code PANDA COFFEE for 15% off. For some reason, my camera is super bright. Let me look at something real quick. Let me check the settings. Nope, that's even brighter. I don't know what's going on. I'm like super bright for some reason, but that's all right. It's all good. Y'all get to see my very pale skin. So yeah. We had what is just a second. Let's make sure yeah, we had what should have been considered the greatest weekend, and probably still in hindsight, looking back in years to come, could still look at this way. But this should have been considered the greatest weekend in pro wrestling history.
yeah.
We had 3 phenomenal pay-per-views. Clash at the Castle killed it. Start to finish, killed it. That crowd was so hot. They were so excited for this major pay-per-view 30 years after the last one happened. Cardiff was amazing. Then you have NXT Worlds Collide, and they killed it. They killed it. Just banger after banger after banger. And then we had All Out, which killed it. I mean, really, again, banger after banger after banger. Hey, Bree, how's it going? Now, I don't agree with the card layout for All Out. I thought that trios match should have been maybe like the semi-main or first. You either put it on first and let those guys kill it. You don't put them on second, though. And obviously, Kenny Omega wasn't happy about that either. He grabbed the camera and said, everybody in the back, follow that, bitches. He wasn't happy about his placement either. There were some other issues that happened, whatnot, but every match was still amazing. We still had great matches. Yeah, Bree, we're going to get into that. Besides all the BS AEW drama, I'm doing good. Yeah, we're going to get into that here in a second because, again, we had this amazing weekend, right? Just pro wrestling gold for 48 hours. And all of it all of it, including the return of MJF, all of it has been overshadowed by this media scrum and backstage drama thanks to CM Punk and the Elite. And that's all anybody's talking about. And quite frankly, that's incredibly sad and incredibly selfish and incredibly toxic. And it's right up our alley. So let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just,
Oh,
it's crazy to me, right?
yeah.
Work or shoot. This is irresponsible, unprofessional, disgusting, toxic, and horrendous.
As hell.
And, you know, our good friend CPG and I have been talking about this off and on all day. And he made a tweet mentioning how he thinks it's a work, but it's still very unprofessional and disgusting. And I said I had to ask the question: Is it better or worse that it could end up being a work? Because I think it's actually worse if it's a work.
Like that you like meticulously put together all of this
Yeah,
banter and all of this bullshit. Like, yeah, that's
way worse, right? That's like sociopathic behavior.
It is. It's very weird because if it's a shoot, it's like, okay, you lost control of your stars.
Yeah.
All right, you can rope that back in. You can rope that back in. You can punish whoever needs to be punished. But if you purposely set that, that's just odd. And
it's disgusting. Is what it is.
Yeah, that's some. Yeah.
That's
what you're gonna do.
You have, if this is a work, they threw a man's mom by name out.
Yeah.
Flat out called her out by name.
That ain't right.
Called out beef with somebody that had to get moved to a different roster because of the fact that you were there. Like, and he brought it up. It wasn't like somebody asked him about Colt Cabana. He just knew that reporter had a history with Colt Cabana and decided to single him out while he ate a fucking muffin. And he should have been on the highest of highs, getting his championship back in his hometown. He should have been in the best mood ever. But because MJF came out, revealed himself as the Joker, had that great video, that fantastic video, all well done. Punk's fragile ego couldn't take it, and he got butthurt and had decided to just ruin the scrum. Now, again, if this was emotional, that's one thing. Like if he just got in his own head, and again, his fragile ego couldn't handle it, and he got butthurt, and he got emotional, and he was already having an adrenaline dump from the match, and he had already been bleeding and all that other stuff. That at least kind of makes sense on a human perspective. He's wrong for doing it. He needs to make major, major, major amends. And we hadn't even gotten into the backstage fight afterwards. But, like, it's still uncalled for. But if this is a work, that's just disgusting.
It's just some shit you don't do.
No, it's just, it's uncalled for. And, like, Tony Khan has absolutely no control over his company. That was made very prevalent by the fact that he was trying to stop Punk at one point in the media scrum. Punk put his hand out and stopped him, basically telling him, like, no, you're not this. And then we get the emotional Tony Khan talking shit about WWE and how he's pissed they ran shows on the same weekend as All Out, even though none of those shows infringed on All Out's time at all. In fact, not even the pre-show, not even 0 Hour was affected by it. Because NXT was over by 6 p.m., 0 Hour started at 7. They didn't infringe at all. But yet he's going to roll out there. He's going to throw Jim Crockett's name out there and then bury Jim Crockett, a legend in the business. And by saying, oh, I have more money than him, I can fight, blah, blah, blah. Like, dude, what the, like, there was that rumor that went out. There's a rumor that went out very recently that Vince Russo has been secretly working for WWE. I think it's the other way around. Like, this is some Vince Russo shit.
Yeah. This whole weekend has been very This weekend is the equivalent of taking a very nice and soothing shower. You're enjoying all of it. You feel amazing, and then you get out and you got to take shit. Literally.
Yeah. I mean, like, imagine like you spent the weekend going on a cruise or something. You go on this wonderful vacation, best vacation of your life. You've had the best time ever. And then you find out that your credit card was stolen, your bank account's been ripped off, your house burnt down when you got home, and you had all 4 tires popped. Like, that's what it's become. The entire weekend ruined over some bullshit. And like, and then there's the fight backstage. And the fight happened during during the media scrum, because apparently Chris Jericho, it had happened before just Chris Jericho came on stage. Chris Jericho, weirdly enough, the complete consummate professional throughout the scrum, and then leans over and tells TK, hey, some shit went down backstage. Absolutely insane. Insane. And again, you've now kind of buried MJF. You have his return was huge. Now, it, like, obviously, I think his return and that voicemail and everything else pretty much proves the whole thing was a work from day one.
Yeah.
And I can see MJF being that kind of guy to do a work like that, including a walkout of a signing, which I'm sure was planned between him and TK. The being gone for months, the promo during while the executives were there, very convenient. The whole thing, like, to me, that doesn't scream work shoot. It screams work 100%.
Yeah. And
But in the best
fine.
possible way.
Yeah, that's fine. That kind of work is fine. That's what we like to see. Stuff like that is just fine.
And why is it different? Why is it different? Because MJF didn't call anybody else out. He did call out the ex-WWE guys, but that's just playing off the internet rumors. All it was between him and TK, him and TK, him and TK. He kept it between the two. He didn't pull somebody else into somebody that you have known heat with, somebody that that we know for a shoot you hate.
Man.
It's like, it's ridiculous, man. And like the calling out Scott, like I cannot get over calling out Colt's mother. Yay, we're live on Twitch now for the PWC. Panda fixed it. Yay, thanks, Panda. Panda, thank you. Thank you, Panda. Got that fixed. Yay.
It's like, so right. What's the whole fucking point of doing that? Like, the woman didn't do shit to you. She doesn't owe you anything. And you just name drop her out of nowhere.
Yeah. And he shares a bank account with his mom. So what? So he takes care of his mom. Guess what? I'm my parents' caretaker too. They both live with me, and we have a joint bank account. So what?
It do be like that,
That's how that works. Power of attorney is an amazing thing. Like, come on. Yeah. Like, what the...
When people are upset, they say the most hateful and spiteful things. When people are upset, the fucking projection gets ugly. And that's all he did. He was mad about something else. So he's like, somebody else has to hurt with me. So he just decided to start shooting on people. And if it's a work, that's just that's ass. That's terrible.
Sociopathic behavior.
If it's a shoot, like I said before, you can rope that back in some kind of way. You can TK can get control of the situation by doing what he has to do, whether it be suspension, fines, or whatever. But to deliberately,
the latest thing I will say, and again, these are all rumors. Everything's going on right now is rumors because AEW is keeping their they're trapped tight. They're shutting their mouth. They're not saying anything. The Young Bucks didn't say anything. The new BTE, Beyond the Elite, showed nothing. Nobody's saying anything. But the consensus that these guys can get from people in the locker room is that they would be surprised if Punk wasn't fired. Now, looking at Tony Khan as the mark that he is, I don't think he fires Punk. I think he realizes after that comment about how Punk's the bigger draw than Thunder Rosa, like that whole thing he said, where he came out and said the reason that Punk got an 8-minute promo and Thunder Rosa got 30 seconds is because Punk's a bigger draw than Thunder Rosa, which is a bullshit comment to make.
That's incomparable as fuck.
Yeah. But the fact that he sees him that way, and the fact that, Punk made it clear that, the only reason AEW got close to $1 million draw, it was all on his back. And I think Tony Khan actually believes that. Hey, that wrestling lady, another one of my favorite people. How you doing today?
Tony Khan needs to lay off the sweets, if you do.
Yeah,
I mean.
exactly. Yeah, I'll say it. He needs to stop snorting. Like that dude's on something. Like he has to be.
Yeah.
And then like what blew my mind, like I said, Tony Khan then reacted emotionally after Punk left and said all kinds of stupid shit and said the shit like he's like, I'm a billionaire, blah blah. No. Your daddy's a billionaire. You have daddy's money. Let's be real.
He just blew like I saw the fucking stat come up about how much money he's wasted on the Jags over 10 years. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It's just
they're not the most, they're financially stable, but as far as knowing how to invest their money, they suck.
So we talked last week about how toxic the IWC can be, and how toxic Wrestle Talk can be. But when the actual sport or the actual product of the fandom, the thing that we're all fans of, becomes toxic, how can you not have a toxic fan base? The fact that this man is a hero to so many people screams volumes. Now, again, I have known Punk for over 20 years. I have worked shows with him. This ego is not new. I had hoped and I had prayed him going to AEW at his age, he would have at least grown up and emotionally matured. Obviously, that's not the case because, like I said, even if this is a work, it is something I'm sure he came up with, and it is sociopathic behavior. It is narcissistic, manipulative, gaslighting behavior. It is sad and disgusting, and his ego is just unfounded. And then the hypocrisy. In May, he tweets out that, if you have a problem with somebody in the locker room, don't air it out. You need to work it out, because if they aired it out, you'd want somebody to have your back, blah, 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 blah. That was kind of in regards to the whole like Sasha Naomi situation.
Yeah.
And then for him to go and do that again, I'm hoping, I pray that this is a shoot. I pray that it was just an emotional reaction. And again, the reaction's coming because he has a fragile ego. He was pissed off that MJF got a bigger pop. He decided to take it out. He walks to a press conference, sees somebody who at one point, and by the way, if you listen to the whole scrum, the guy is no longer talking to Colt Cabana. They are no longer friends. But at one point, they were friends after CM Punk stopped being friends with Colt. So he saw this guy, knew who he was, and decided, I'm going to put all my vitriol towards you, and then I'm going to spread it out. I'm going to attack the EVPs, which is so dumb. Like, the whole situation. And then goes in the back. Of course the Young Bucks confront him. Who wouldn't?
Oh, wouldn't they?
Who wouldn't confront him after all that shit?
You just put my name in your mouth.
He throws the first punch. This is every report has him throwing the first punch, which, by the way, Eddie Kingston got suspended for 2 weeks for barely pie-facing Sammy. So now we have Punk having thrown the first punch, landing the first punch, chairs being thrown, one hitting Nick Jackson in the face, Ace Steel, CM Punk's boy, apparently pulling Omega's hair and biting him, and then socking Matt Jackson, damn near knocking him out too. Like, what the hell, man? Like, what? I don't. For the only 100% I know is I'm sure Ace Steel is gone. I'm sure he's never allowed back. He fucking bit a dude. He fucking Mike Tyson the guy.
Well, you bite me, we don't have to.
What the shit? Like, how Kenny Omega didn't just beat him to a bloody pulp is beyond me.
You bite me, you going on the Haynes. You going on the Haynes 2X.
It was probably shocking though. Like, it was I'm sure it was very unexpected.
That's some abnormal shit to do in a real fight.
Like, I'm sure it caught him off. Like, I bet Kenny had to take a step back and go, Did this motherfucker just bite me? Are we in The Walking Dead? What the hell just happened?
There's some real deal abnormal shit right there, bro.
Yeah.
You bite me in the middle of a fight, they're gonna have to scrape me off of you with a fucking spatula because I'm not gonna let up. Wow, anything but that. Put your mouth on me.
Yeah, that
fucking weirdo.
It's just. And again, if this is all work and none of that happened, the fact that he was like, hey, and we'll put in there that Ace Steel bit him. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Jerry, and people talk so bad about the Attitude Era. Oh, it's just Jerry Springer with wrestlers. This is Jerry Springer with wrestlers.
Yeah, this is
some Jerry Springer shit.
I did see a funny tweet where people said that as much of a Bret Hart guy CM Punk claims to be, he sure is acting like early to mid 90s Shawn Michaels. I thought that was funny. I don't understand. Like, again, I have to cross my fingers that this is all 100% a shoot, because if it's a work, it is the worst thing. And I understand, like, apparently, like, people have talked to WWE guys and asked their reactions to it. And apparently one veteran said if they don't make a ton of money off of this, they're stupid. And they're looking at it like it's a work. No, this is beyond work at this point. This is it's crossing way too many boundaries. And you're burying your big lead. One of your pillars, by the way, one of the 4 pillars of AEW finally comes back. And you've already buried him. I hope he goes out on Wednesday and cuts a promo and calls this shit out. I hope the Acclaim get a chance to rap about it.
I probably will.
I want to hear Matt Caster drop a line about it. Like, this should not, this is, again, I part of this is CM Punk just wanting to continue to be the talk of the night. We had a whole weekend of wrestling that we should be talking about, but we're all talking about CM Punk because of this shit. And I'm sure he's sitting at home right now, just smiling ear to ear, seeing all the comments about him. Not reading into him. Just the fact that his name keeps popping up is all that matters to him. It's just sad. It's just sad. Like I said, I didn't agree with the layout of the card at All Out. I thought that the card went weird. I also thought that it was 100% predictable. On my prediction sheet, I was 100% match for match. It was the only card. It was the longest card out of all the shows. Had 12 matches and then 3 matches on the pre-show, so it had 15 matches. Yet I nailed all of them. I nailed 100% on that card. I didn't nail 100% on the Clash of the Castle. I didn't nail 100% on NXT. Actually, no, wait. On Worlds Collide, I did nail 100% on that. Nope. No. The tag unification match, I didn't nail that one. I didn't nail that one. So, yeah, I didn't nail. Only one I nailed 100% on was the longest card. I didn't agree with. So AEW still has a problem with predictable booking, and they have a problem with their card layouts. They don't always lay them out well. That being said, it was still a phenomenal pay-per-view to watch. It was still amazing.
Side note, before we go any further, it is storming where I am. So at any point, if it gets dark in here, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not the Undertaker coming in.
I mean, I've made videos like that before. You know, this is different. I have no control over this one.
No, I get it. Trust me. I mean, I live in Florida. I fully understand. Yeah. So I just, like, we had tremendous matches. Like the quote unquote worst match of the night for me was the women's fatal 4-way. And it could have been our feed. We had some video like skipping issues, but the whole match felt a little discombobulated to me, but it was still a good match. Like, it's like saying, like, oh, I got a pack of Oreos and this one has less cream than the rest of them. It's still a delicious cookie. It's just not the most delicious in the pack now because it has less cream than the other ones. That's all. Like, like every one of every card had that. Every card had to have a worse match, even though they were good matches. Like at Worlds Collide, it was the women's tag match. It was the worst match of the night, but it was still a good match.
Yeah, you're gonna always have that. You can have
there has to be one. There has to be one, unfortunately.
Somebody got to take the fall.
Like, there's always going to be a match that doesn't hold up to all the rest of the matches. Doesn't mean it's not good. Doesn't mean it's not, like, using the rating system of, it could have been a 4-star match where every other match was 5-star. It's still a 4-star match. Yeah. That's great. That's fantastic. It's just not better than what we saw from everybody else. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I understand kind of why they put the ladder match first, but I think they really should have went the trios match either first or as the semi-main event. Not putting them second match was a terrible spot. And the thing is, what's crazy about that is, remember when Jericho got pissed that him and Kevin Owens got regulated to second match at WrestleMania, and that's why he left?
Yeah. Speaking of matches, I still say my favorite match of Clash, and I will keep saying it, and I'll say it again because they need to run that shit back. Sheamus and Gunther.
Oh yeah. That was probably match of the weekend. Like, I understand, that trios match was phenomenal. Don't get me. I think the trios match was the greatest match of All Out. The trios title match, because there was several trios matches. I think that the trios titles match was the greatest match of the night. But that being said, I think of the entire weekend, the Gunther Sheamus match was just phenomenal.
I gotta channel my inner Big E. Yeah. This ain't about your 30-minute classics. This ain't about no catch can. It's too big meat men. Bump meat.
Yeah, slapping man meat, man.
Big meaty men slapping meat.
They worked to their strengths the entire time. And it was exactly what that crowd wanted, exactly what we wanted, exactly what the build-up to it was. We also got Imperium back at full strength. That's great. So that's awesome. I love that. I can't wait to see that on SmackDown.
That's going to be great.
By the way, did you know we had Braun Strowman come back on Monday Night Raw, and that's still not getting talked about because of all this CM Punk bullshit?
I was right.
Like, another big return, and yet it's, again, overshadowed.
I was right.
Luckily, they were smart. You know how smart they were? Mm-hmm. They've already made it known that Braun's going to also show up on SmackDown.
Oh, yeah.
So they're going to get more time out of it this week. This week, they're going to get more out of it.
We talked about it before it happened. I was like, hey, look. He's like, not sure. Like, he shows up.
I know there's a contingency of people out there like, well, why'd they have to bury the tag division? The thing is, they didn't really bury them. It showed Braun being a monster, and those guys, that tag division can very easily, it was already on shaky ground, and they were in the process of building it back up. Mm-hmm. So if it knocked it down a peg or two, it didn't knock it down very far because they're still going to build it back, and they still have the opportunity to do that. By the way, best spot of the last 3 days, best singular spot was when Angel Garcia tagged in Kofi Kingston to go against Xavier Woods, and they thought they were going to have to fight, and so they shook hands, they start circling around, and then boom, Xavier just drops to his back, and Kofi goes to cover him. That was the best singular spot of the last 3 days.
It was definitely funny.
That was amazing. Love that. I popped in my house by myself so loud. I was like, yes, that was amazing. That is how you do pro wrestling, ladies and gentlemen. That is how you do sports entertainment. That was brilliant.
I've seen the discourse about Ron coming back, and some folks are not excited. Some people are in between. Some people are glad to see him back. I'm glad to see the big son of a bitch back. Because, like I said, CYN just doesn't have. They don't have what it takes to produce somebody his size. They don't have what it takes to really put him out there the way he needs to be put out there. Yeah, he can put on matches. He can have great matches and shit. But as far as production goes, he needs to be broadcasted like fucking Godzilla, because he is a walking monster. He is massive. Can't have somebody that big just working small venues for forever now.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know he said the shit he said about the indie wrestlers and stuff like that. And Um, I think for a bit he was biting the bullet on that, working on small venues, and I think he kind of got it. Say, okay, this ain't this is different. Not the same as working in front of tens of thousands of people. You're working in front of up to thousands of people. But no, I'm just glad to see him back, and like I said, I hope this is a prerequisite to my boy coming back. Maybe I don't know. I'm always gonna be lobbying for the return of Mr. Rotunda. I got my fingers crossed on that eternally until he shows back up.
Yeah, I don't know who's next to come back. I thought that by now we'd get Naomi and Sasha back. We didn't yet, and I don't know if maybe because they're going to they let the baby faces win the tag titles. They'll let Damage Control beat them and get the titles off of them. And then Sasha, because they know Sasha and Naomi coming back, they're going to come back to such a huge ovation. They're going to have to be baby faces. So,
wait time.
So maybe I hate to say it, but maybe Raquel and Aaliyah are kind of transitional champions just to give the baby because it was gone for so long. It's almost as if it's re-debuting those belts.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's let's put it on the babyface team first. Let's give these two something that they deserve and they've been working for. And then we'll put it on Damage Control and we'll let Sasha and Naomi come back to fight after that. And then that way Dakota Kai and Io Sky are kind of occupied while Bayley goes after Bianca. So maybe that's how that'll go. I don't know. But I would have thought we would have gotten them back. I don't know about Bray. I heard Bray is working with Freddie Prinze Jr. on his wrestling promotion.
I don't know. I just wanted to see him back in wrestling in some capacity.
Well, I have all the faith in the world of Freddie Prinze Jr. starting his own promotion. I have all the faith in the world in that. That man.
He wrote WWE for forever.
Yeah. He is a mark. He is a fan, but he's also a businessman who's worked in the business at one of the highest levels. He's also a smart person who's worked in Hollywood and have been around it literally his entire life. He is not, his father was a very successful stand-up comedian, but they weren't filthy rich. So he didn't live in luxury his whole life. He still had to grind. He worked for his roles. He's a good actor.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he understands, you watch his D&D campaigns, he understands how to work and how to tell a story. And I think that he's also going to go in there and be okay, I can't do this all myself. Let me get the best people I can. He's smart enough to know that.
It's a Neep.
Hey, Neep, how's it going? Is that Panda Coffee? Is that Panda Coffee emotes? As in rootlesscoffee.com. Go to rootlesscoffee.com and use the code Panda Coffee for 15% off all the non-branded coffee and all merchandise. But I think Freddie Prinze Jr., what he can do. I also think that Freddie Prinze Jr. isn't going to try and immediately become competition in the sense of, let me get a TV deal, let me put it on against blah, 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 blah. I have a feeling that he would be very open to working with Vince or Triple H. I'm sure he'd be very open to working with WWE and in almost a forbidden door capacity. And so if he can build something and build it right. So I have a lot of faith in that. But from what I understand, and again, this is just a rumor, so we don't know. But from what I understand, Bray Wyatt is working with him directly on that promotion. So maybe, just maybe, that's where Bray comes back at first. And maybe this forbidden door situation is how we get Bray back in WWE. I don't know. At the same time, if WWE said, hey, Bray, we want you back, I know for a fact Freddie Prinze Jr. isn't going to be like, no, you got to stay here. He's going to be like, go make your money. They're going to pay you a whole lot more than I can.
It's the number one thing that that a lot of I notice a lot of wrestling fans don't get why do certain wrestlers who they would have thought never go to or go back to WWE, like Cody Rhodes, like why they do it, like, dude, one of the biggest reasons is money, because they know they're gonna make the money they need to make or that they want to make.
Yeah,
even
Cody's
on the
getting
low
paid.
end. Oh yeah.
Cody's getting paid.
Oh, I don't need to see the figures. I know he's getting his pockets padded. Like it's obvious. Like, folks don't go back just for the platform or the opportunity. They go back for the money. They go back for the chance to get a handsome payday. And who the fuck wouldn't? WWE is they're not the end all be all, but they are definitely the top when it comes to getting the money, man. Even on the low end, I feel like folks make good money.
Yeah, talking kind of contracts here. I want to go back to the MJF re-debut here. The and that voicemail again to work, but he's gonna be Tony Khan's like, all right, I'll give you a pay raise. I won't even make you sign an extension. If he legit does not sign an extension and his contract is up in 2024, I'm wondering if like the reason he didn't want to sign an extension is because he actually does want to spend the next year and a half building himself up as the biggest thing in AEW and then go give WWE a try. Leave on shoot good terms with AEW, similar to how Cody did. Just look, my contract's up. I have to listen to these offers. They're offering me this. I got to give it a shot. Goes over there, whether it works or not, he can then decide whether he wants to go back or not. You know what I mean? Like, if he signs the extension, he'll be even though he is very young, he'll be at a point where the door for WWE kind of closes.
Yeah.
And so I hope that part of it is a shoot. I hope he's not signing an extent, because I would like to see him spread his wings. Because here's the thing, he can go to WWE for like 3 to 5 years and then go back to AEW and be the absolute biggest thing ever.
Yeah.
He's already close to that in AEW, but I think that, maybe getting a world title run at WWE under his belt, or even just a long intercontinental title run, something, getting something like that under his belt, getting a WrestleMania under his belt, and then going back would be huge for AEW. And I mean, right now, AEW looks like the Titanic 30 minutes before the iceberg. And if they do not fix this and steer clear of said iceberg, they will just be what they will be. What they will end up looking like is they will end up looking like WCW in fast forward. And I don't want that. I don't want that.
No.
I want AEW to succeed. There are people like, first of all, the roster is already too big, but it's too big to go to WWE too. So many guys would lose their spot on TV. There's guys that don't work in the WWE system. I want those people to have their TV time. I want those people to shine. I want them to get the big paydays. And AEW is where that's going to happen. I want AEW to succeed.
And my thing is this, and I've said this before. They like you just mentioned, they have a grossly over-encumbered roster. There's way too many people for them not to have something for everybody. Like I did a video before talking about what could fix Rampage. Like, give it its own identity instead of it being the grease trap for Dynamite.
Yeah.
Because that's really what it is at this point.
Yep.
Whatever we can't fit on Dynamite, we're going to trickle it down to Rampage and just throw a couple of extra matches in the mix that have nothing to do with nothing, that have no build to it. I'm confused. Why? You have this extra, not to mention it comes on late as fuck when people are sleeping, pretty much, or getting ready to go to bed. So nobody's going to be up and best wanting to watch it. Breathe.
Saliva went the wrong way.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Ugh.
That's a good band. That's a good band. They're from Memphis, but
No, I agree. Rampage needs a whole new identity change. It needs to basically be a second brand. You don't have to necessarily label it a second brand, but
no,
we should not see people who were just on Dynamite on Rampage.
exactly. There's no point.
No.
There's no point. And then you have all of these titles, and you're trying to cramp them all on Dynamite. Why don't you like what would immediately give Rampage its own feel is if you were to have these titles defended and shown more on Rampage consistently. Just like how they did with SmackDown and Raw. You know, at first they were just, two shows. You would see The Rock on one and then the other one, and they would just flip flop everybody. Whoever they couldn't fit on SmackDown, they put on Raw and vice versa. But then as time went on, they were like, hey, why don't we just have set wrestlers be on these shows and create that brand split, so to speak? They can do that with Rampage and Dynamite to a degree. It doesn't have to be exactly like Raw and SmackDown, but it can be similar.
Yeah.
Give it its own, aura. You have the nucleus to make something out of it. Do something with it.
What's crazy is when they first announced Rampage, the synopsis for it was that it was where they were going to highlight more stars. In other words, like the people on Dark and Elevation would start getting TV time. Yeah. That ain't happening. And it's kind of sad. But like also what's sad is you're right, there's way too many titles in AEW. Like the All Atlantic Championship was defended for the first time on AEW at the pay-per-view. It was won June 26th. Its first defense on AEW television was at the pay-per-view against Kip Sabian with Pac. It has been defended 3 other times that nobody knows about unless you follow Pac exclusively. Like if you follow him closely and follow where he goes for his independent shows, like then he's defended it here, here, and here.
Yep.
They really highlighted that fact too. The announcers mentioned it multiple times that this was the first time it was being defended on AEW television. Mm-hmm. And they try to frame it as a good thing. Like it's being defended all over the world and da-da-da. Look, it's an AEW title. Should be defended on AEW. Like, what's going on? Now, that being said, that Kip Sabian Pac match was phenomenal. Kip Sabian, it looks like he hasn't missed a step in over a year. Over a year away from the ring, and that dude looked like he had not missed a step. In fact, he looked like he was in better shape now than he was a year ago. He looked great. But again, very predictable. You never expected Pac to lose that. He just did.
No.
So,
and to be honest with you, I mean, AEW has the same amount of titles as WWE's main roster.
I think it has more now.
Sure.
Because you've got, for WWE, you have the Unified Universal Championship, the Women's Championship on Raw and SmackDown, the tag titles, Unified, United States, Intercontinental, Women's Tag Team. So that's 7 belts.
You throw the 24/7 in there.
Well, you notice Dana Brooks not even carrying it anymore.
That's true.
So I don't think they have one. I think it's just gone.
AEW has one more at 8.
AEW, you have World Title, TNT Title, World Women's Title, TBS Title, Tag Championships, Trios Championships, All Atlantic Championship. And I think there's one more. What am I missing?
Yeah,
TNT.
The FTW, I don't think that counts.
FTW. The fact that they're defended it on pay-per-views. Yeah, that was the one thing. So the FTW title. That now is like the fact that there's other people besides the Team Taz people going after it.
Mm-hmm.
It now like that counts. And the fact that he is ranked on their website as FTW champion, and then there's number 1 contenders for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a belt that counts. So that's 8 belts. But let's look at the TV options. You have 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, 5 hours, and a pay-per-view every single month.
Yep.
AEW has 2 hours of Dynamite, 1 hour of Rampage, a pay-per-view every 4 months, 3 to 4 months. So you have more titles there, and you don't have a title that should be there, like a women's tag team title. That should be there. It's not. But then you've got there's just this influx of titles. And again, if nothing else, the All Atlantic title should be defended every single week on Rampage.
I see that.
It doesn't have to main event. It doesn't have to main event. Oh, you know what I forgot to mention? Because these get defended on AEW television. So we're at 8. ROH World Title, ROH Peer Title, ROH TV Title, ROH Tag Titles.
That's only because they haven't figured out what the hell to do with ROH aside from.
But that's still. So now we're at 12 titles on 3 hours of TV.
Are they going to give Ring of Honor their own show? What are they going to do with it?
I mean, I do believe that's what they're working towards. Like legally, they're working towards getting ROH a TV deal of some kind. But still, that on AEW Dark tonight, Claudio is defending the Raw or the ROH World Title on Dark. At this point, ROH is becoming the 24/7 of AEW.
Yeah.
Now, the Pure title will be defended this coming Dynamite with Danny Garcia versus Wheeler Yuta. Mm-hmm. But Wheeler Yuta defending that title again proves my point that it is an AEW title.
Yeah.
And the fact that technically other titles can be defended on AEW television, like the Impact title was, the Impact World title was, the Impact Tag titles, the Impact World titles, the AAA tag titles can be defended on AEW. There's more belts than there is slots of time. That's a problem. So I agree that Rampage needs to become kind of its own thing because with so many titles, you can defend other titles on that show. Hell, if you want to show people and TV executives that ROH works, turn Rampage into ROH for a bit.
It can work. You can have a Ring of Honor, a whole Ring of Honor card on there.
Yeah.
And I feel like Ring of Honor hopefuls who have been waiting for, Ring of Honor to come back, they will tune in. Regardless of how late that shit is, they will tune in to see it. Mm-hmm. It's just...
If nothing else, they'll DVR it, watch it on Saturday.
Yeah.
And that counts towards views, so that'll work.
It's just it's a lot they can do with the things they have. They just have to do it.
Right now, you're going to see a big spike, and this is where people are going to the people who are the anti-WWE fans, the AEW hardcore stands. Mm-hmm. They're going to look at the ratings for this coming Wednesday and see, look, see, Dynamite's great, because there's going to be a spike because people want to know what the hell's going on. Going all the way back to how we started the conversation with this CM Punk bullshit.
Yeah.
So, yes, there's going to be a spike in Dynamite. But according to every insider right now, CM Punk, Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega will not be on the show. They will not be on the show. And let's see if Tony Khan lets anybody even mention it. I'm sure MJF is going to come out. I'm sure he's going to say something. But... let me pull up Twitter. Things keep getting updated every second, so I'm gonna pull Twitter back up, make sure we haven't missed anything. Let's see. Oh, wow. Well, there you go. We had an hour of Twitter without mention of the situation, besides a few memes here and there, but no new updates. Although I did just see one of the worst takes ever. If
Okay.
Punk gets fired by AEW, WWE will surely try to sign him. No, the fuck they won't.
Doubt that.
They
I
will not.
highly doubt that.
After that shit just went down, the bit. Oh, he hasn't changed a bit. Triple H already doesn't like him. Yeah, no. Which, by the way, I wanted to. Forgot to mention this earlier. Triple H got another promotion. He is now the chairman of content operations. So, in other words, he now encompasses talent relations, creative, and a bunch of other direct. Like he's now in charge of it all. He's kind of now like officially the Kevin Feige of WWE. So he got that promotion today. That was listed today by WWE officially. So good for him. It also makes it easier on him to just have all that encompassed under one job versus, oh, I'm head of talent relations and I'm head of creative and I'm head of like it's just like no, you're now chairman of content operations. He is the CCO. So good for him.
We have Jaxbo. Jaxbo said if Punk leaves AEW, I feel like he will be done with wrestling altogether. That's just me, though.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. He's done. The only thing that brought him back was a giant paycheck.
Yeah.
And I think, and this is just speculation on my part. I have nothing to back this up except for my limit, having known him and met him and been in locker rooms with him. But that was also 20 years ago, 15 years ago. But I think that the massive paycheck, along with the thought that he might be able to bury WWE, like he could somehow, his ego was so inflated, he thought just his return to the business would be enough to push AEW over WWE in ratings. I think that's what brought him back.
Like speaking of Triple H, thinking of on that, did you see the interview he had
with Ariel Helwani?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good interview.
And he mentioned, yeah, and I like that he was pretty transparent with everything. He wasn't being derogatory or anything towards AEW, and a lot of AEW fans still took it that way. About how AEW at one point, he said, you guys beat our developmental area in ratings. That's good for you. He's like, I don't care. He only cares about what his company's doing, what he's putting out. You may watch AEW, you may glance at it, but he's not focused on it to the point where he's like, oh, they're trying to take, like, no. He's staying the beaten path, and he's putting out, he's trying to put out great stuff, great product.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit what AEW does if you're in his position? They don't dictate your pace, you do.
Exactly.
And that's what a lot of,
I was gonna say, competition breeds success, but focusing on your competition drowns your ship.
Yeah, because you're always looking to level up or one up the other person. So that means you're waiting on them to do something. That means at that point your project is only reactionary. It's only you're only bouncing off of what they're doing. And you're gonna wind up doing the same stuff or something that's just stupid, plain to stay stupid.
Well, I said this to you before we got started.
Mm-hmm.
Back into Monday Night Wars, the reason that Eric Bischoff won for 83 weeks straight was because Vince McMahon saw them as competition and was reactionary and focused on what WCW was doing and trying to attack them. And he kept losing, and he lost for 83 weeks straight. Finally, he realized that no, it's just let's focus on us and what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they started to win. And then Eric Bischoff became reactionary and became trying to stop them at their game, blah, 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 blah. And then, boom, WCW goes out of business. AEW needs to stop worrying about WWE, take WWE out of their mouths. Don't worry about it. Look at it, see what they're doing, see what your competition is up to, but then focus on just making the best product yourself.
Exactly.
Competition breeds success, but focusing on your competition sinks your ship. Plain and simple. And that's the biggest issue here. It's just
that's
like
what we call rubbernecking. That's what we call rubberneck.
Yeah.
It's like it's the because if you like on the road when you rubberneck and like you see a car wreck.
Yep.
And like, going on over there, and you're gonna cause your own because you're not looking at what you got going on in front of you. You're looking all over the other places and such. Don't do that. Focus on what you got going on, and you'll be just fine.
Keep your peripherals open, but look forward.
Exactly.
That's all there is to it.
You can
like
acknowledge your
acknowledge your competition. Yeah,
it's it.
With what Tony Khan said in that media scrum, comparing himself to Jim Crockett and all that bullshit. Like I said, right now they are Titanic 30 minutes away from that iceberg, and they really need to step it up. Jason says, sorry I'm late, but did you see this Punk stuff coming because of your history with that individual? Oh boy, have I. We have been talking about that pretty much nonstop this entire time.
Yeah.
Like I said, if this is a work, that's far worse than it being a shoot.
Definitely.
If it's a shoot, it's an emotional aspect after an adrenaline dump of a night, and his fragile ego couldn't handle the fact that MJF got a bigger pop and he took it out on somebody else. If this is a work, it is sociopathic, narcissistic, gaslighting behavior, and it's fucking disgusting. It's terrible. You know what's not terrible? Do you want to know what's not terrible, though, as we roll into our second hour here? Rootless Coffee. Go to rootlesscoffee.com and use the code PandaCoffee for 15% off all non-branded coffees and all merchandise. That's rootlesscoffee.com for the best coffee out there. Get it some today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the king of segues. Anyways, this Punk shit is ridiculous. AEW, like I said, I'll say it a third time. They are the Titanic 30 minutes from the iceberg, and if they do not change course, they are going to hit said iceberg and sink to their death. And I don't want that. I want AEW to succeed. I want them to be huge. I want them to get so big they have to go public. I want them to get so big they become a global brand. They are not a global brand right now, as much as they like to say they are. I want them to become WWE level successful.
To quote Alex Kane, AEW is an indie promotion with a budget. And people may not like that, but it is the fucking truth. They are on par with, as far as like, what they do. They're just like any other indie promotion, but they have the money to be on TV weekly. They have the money to, put on these big pay-per-views and such. That's all it is. They have more money than anything else.
Yeah, for sure. When I went to AEW Revolution, I got that feeling very much. I'm like, oh, this is a high budget indie show. Nothing wrong with that, but they're still working their way up. I think Punk will. Yeah. I think you meant to say I think Punk will be let go because I don't think he'll say sorry. I don't think he'll say sorry either. And sorry is not enough. There's a lot more than just sorry. Indie on steroids, yeah. Although steroids is a touchy subject in the pro wrestling community. Yeah, it's one way to put it. It is a juiced up indie. Yeah, it really is. And yes, they have brand deals. Yes, they have sponsors. Yes, they have big TV deals. But they're not. It's just not the same. And as soon as Tony Khan stops focusing on like this whole bullshit, like how dare WWE run pay-per-views on the same weekend as ours, even though none of the times overlaps and it didn't affect us in any way, shape, or form. Like, shut up. Stop it. Just stop.
Tony Khan and his weird obsession with the wrong things is just going to steer this company in the wrong direction all too quick.
I'll say it again. that we've said this time and time again. We had a whole podcast about it. He needs to take a step back, breathe, and give up some control to the people he already has there, like William Regal, Taz, Dean Malenko, etc. He has the people. They're already there. Yeah, Childish doesn't even begin to cut it, Zombie Hunter. It is disgusting.
It's juvenile as fuck.
Yeah, it is disgusting.
In touching on what you were saying, like, I'd rather this be a shoot than a work. Yeah. For those who don't get it, if this is a work, if this is scripted and planned, they planned this shit. That means they deliberately sabotaged people or made people look bad for the sake of views, for the sake of, getting traction. Like, that's garbage.
Punk name dropped Colt Cabana's mother.
For what?
That is just uncalled for.
No.
That is just uncalled for.
It's cringy as fuck. Like, you don't do people like that. You don't do shit like that.
And you know that if this is a work, Colt Cabana's not in on it.
No.
So Tony Khan, who has an employee over at ROH in Colt Cabana, just allowed that to happen. So Tony Khan's just as much a sociopath as Punk.
I mean, I think I figured that out way before now. Tony Khan's a weird dude, man, but like, it's some shit you just don't let happen. That's one of them.
Jason says, I brought up that Booker idea to some of the guys on Wrestle Talk, and they agreed with you guys and thought it would help them make them better. I'm going to put this out there. AEW will never be better than WWE. However, WWE will never be better than AEW because they're two different forms of pro wrestling. And that's the key. They need to stop trying to compete, which WWE's not. AEW needs to stop trying to compete and just be their own thing, which is what the reason it was formed in the first place. They need to just continue to be what they are and not try to beat WWE and just be AEW. Zombie Hunter says, yes, I agree that he's a spoiled kid that wants what he wants. Yeah, like I said, if this was a shoot, it still looks bad on Punk because his fragile ego got butt hurt that MGF got a bigger pop. He goes into the media scrum and sees somebody and immediately decides to take it out on them instead of dealing with his own emotions. However, that is something that can be worked through. That is something through mediation and other processes they can work through as a locker room and figure it out. Throwing punches at people in the locker room, not okay. The whole situation in the locker room, not okay.
Jexpo said they need to be an alternative, not the same.
Yeah, absolutely. 1,000%.
When they were first drumming it up about AEW and their first, what was the first one? All In?
All In.
When All In was first getting put together and everything, and then they were announced from the start of AEW, that was the premise. The premise was for them to be the alternative to the norm. They wanted to be something else other than WWE. They wanted to be, another platform of wrestling that you could watch and that you could enjoy. That was supposed to be their whole existence, to be something else. And it went from that to quickly being, we're trying to compete with these guys and we're doing like it quickly turned the other way. They went left almost immediately. Like,
well, let's look at this. Let's look at this. Let's go back to the pay-per-view. The casino ladder match.
Mm-hmm.
Was the ending of that not the most sports entertainment thing you'd ever seen?
Oh, definitely.
I made a joke to myself, which again, I was by myself, so I don't know who I was talking to. But when all those guys came out in the black hoodies and the mask, I was like, oh, it's Retribution. Like that whole situation, and then Stokely Holloway going up and getting the chip, and then the guy coming down with the mask, which, by the way, using the only good Rolling Stones song there is in Sympathy for the Devil. And now I'm afraid we'll never hear it again. Because when he came out a second time, he came out to his old music and not the Sympathy for the Devil. And I'm like, damn it. I would have loved that to have been his music. Someone got bit somewhere. Don't know if it's true. Yeah, according to all reports, Ace Steel bit Kenny Omega because he's a fucking zombie, apparently, which is funny because you're a zombie hunter. Zombie hunter, go after Ace Steel. Great match up until the end. Yeah. Do you think Tony wants to be WWE? Absolutely. 1,000%. Tony is a mark for the business. He loves WWE. Don't let him fool you. And he just wants to be WWE 2.0. That's not what the Young Bucks and Omega and Cody wanted. Why do you think Cody left? He said that his goals for the product and Tony's goals did not align anymore. They didn't want WWE 2.0. Cody would rather go back to WWE. If he's going to work a WWE product, he'd rather do it on the grandest stage of them all.
Yep.
And at the same time, he already knew he had built himself up to be enough of a star that he was not going to be wasted. And especially now that Triple H is in charge, I'm sure Cody's ecstatic.
Yeah.
But like, you had a bunch of sports entertainment moments in All Out. I'm not against that. Like I said, the pay-per-view was good. It's really good. But there was a lot of sports entertainment moments. And it just feels like the longer we go, rankings no longer matter. Wins and losses no longer matter. Clean finishes no longer matter. Surprise roll-ups are becoming more and more a thing. It's becoming very WWE 2.0. And that's not a good thing. And if Tony Khan would just listen to some other people, set up a booking committee versus him doing all the booking, let minds like William Regal, Taz, Dean Malenko, let those guys, Christopher Daniels, let those guys book the show. Let them do what they do best. Because they're going to do it. And just step back and breathe, Tony. Step back, breathe. That's it.
He's supposed to just be the owner. Like, he's trying to play way too many parts. And with him being, for like a better term, kind of still green in the business, it's not benefiting him to try to do all of these, different jobs at once. You're trying to hop through too many hoops by yourself. It is no shame in having people help you. Like, there is no shame in having folks have experience in what you're doing help you. I mean, hell, Vince McMahon didn't build WWE by himself. He spearheaded it most definitely, but he didn't do it all alone.
Yeah. That's why I kept normally I will silence my phone, but I'm keeping it on for notifications in case something does come out. So far, I haven't seen anything. Let's check Twitter one more time. Why not?
I got my banners coming down on my phone as we speak. I'm just looking at them, seeing what's what.
Let's see here. Per the CM Punk's Ace side steal of things, after the scrum, the Young Bucks approached Punk's locker room and Punk wasn't answering the door. The Bucks were said to have pounded on the door with claims that they would kick the door down. Oh, yeah, I'd be pissed too. I'm not saying they're right. I'm not saying they're justified. I'm not saying they're right, but I can understand where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately the Punk faithful are taking Punk's side in this. Oh, that proves the Punks were wrong in all of this, or the Bucks were wrong in all this. What?
Not really, no.
First off, they're both wrong. Every side of this is wrong. Nobody's in the right. Nobody is.
Grown ass men scuffling like fucking 12-year-olds.
Let me see. Let me pull up the article here. So various reports have emerged since the events of the melee, with ACL said to have thrown a chair that hit Mac Jackson in the eye, as well as biting Kenny Omega. Punk was also said to be throwing punches during the incident. Fightful Select has now provided an update on the situation, detailing Punk and Steele's version of the events, as per sources closer to Duo. According to the report, the Elite allegedly kicked down CM Punk's locker room door, a far more hostile approach as opposed to reports that the Elite were simply waiting for Punk in the locker room after the press conference. Okay. Per the Punk side steals things. After the scrum, the Young Bucks approached Punk's locker room and Punk was entering the door having been a long match, bloodied, and finished with an emotional scrum. The Bucks were said to have pounded on the door with claims that they would kick it down. So they didn't kick it down. There was claims that they were going to kick it down, but they didn't. So, in regards to Ace Steele's alleged biting and chair throwing, sources close to the producer stated that Steele's wife was present in the locker room at the time, leading to Steele going ballistic, throwing chairs, and ultimately biting somebody. Fightful noted that the claim made from sources close to Steele were that he was simply looking out for his wife more than anything, although things eventually got out of hand. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care what you try to justify it as. That's some bullshit. You don't bite. What? How is biting somebody defending your wife? You stupid piece of shit.
I'm putting you on a fucking t-shirt.
Zombie says he'll be at Dynamite tomorrow, so I'll be very interested to see some your take on what happens between the commercials there, Zombie. And as far as I know, it says I guess Punk and Elite will not be there. As far as I know, they are not going to be there. There's more. There's more.
Oh dear.
The report then notes that the fight was supposedly a very long altercation and that it was the talk back and forth did not stop after the brawl. Additionally, Fightful moved to dispel rumors that Punk has injured his triceps during the brawl, instead reporting that those close to him believe the injury transpired during the championship match. They then addressed the rumors, stating that both Punk and Steele are done with the company, reporting that those closer to the pair say they haven't been informed of that yet. Per the report, virtually all of the AEW roster that Fightful has spoken to about the situation believe that Punk and Steele will need to make heavy amends should be sticking around, with heat on the pair said to be unreal. As pointed out in Fightful's report, this is simply one side of the story, with numerous names involved refraining from commenting due to the potential for legal action to be taken, and thus it's worth taking this reported detail with a pinch of salt. And that is the other thing, is that legal apparently is getting involved as well. So that says a lot too. See if there's anything else that's popped up real quick. Oops. Punk in Sports Illustrated last week. My door is always open. It's better than leaking stuff to Dave Meltzer. Punk on Sunday to all wrestling press. Hey, you know this broke boy shares an account with his mama? I can't sue a mom. What have I really done, Dave? Yeah. Yep. The hypocrisy is what gets me. And that's again, I'll go back to what we started with. I hope this is a shoot. Because if this is a work, goddamn. This is some psychotic shit. Yes, damn.
It's fucked up shit.
Remember when we didn't know all the backstage stuff? LOL. Oh, the good old days.
I was talking about that earlier. I made a video about that earlier.
Yeah. I mean, the dirt sheets have been around since, forever. But it was a monthly magazine or, a newspaper or something. It was much harder to get that information.
Because and a lot of people are having their beliefs suspended once more. And folks are, clamoring to figure out what's what. I mean, on one end, that's a good thing. We're really not supposed to know what's real and what's fake, what's a work, what's a shoot and whatnot. But at the same time, with a situation like this, I really fucking don't know if I want it to be a work, because that's just
no.
That's
I don't.
Cheap. That's cheap, easy product. I don't like it.
It is flat up. It's flat out sociopathic behavior, man. Like it's all there is to it. I do not want.
I'm not saying this. I'm not saying it just because it's AEW. If WWE did it, I'd be just critical, because it's stupid. It's stupid. It doesn't make fucking sense.
So apparently, something else has come up. Let me see if I can read more on this. Chris Jericho and Jon Moxley are rescheduled to appear at AEW Dynamite. Apparently, they were not scheduled, but they have been called in, obviously, because the other people are not going to be there. And also a suspension update. So let's see if there's a suspension. Okay, Dave Meltzer reporting that 2 of those changes include former AEW World Champions Chris Jericho and Jon Moxley both appearing on Wednesday's Buffalo, New York debut. Neither were originally scheduled to appear, and it's unknown if they will be wrestling or simply doing promos. Meltzer said there are suspensions stemming from the Sunday fight that was a result of Punk's post all-out press conference comments, where he called out the EVPs of AEW in addition to Hangman Page, Colt Cabana, and MJF with inflammatory language. Steele and Pat Buck will not be at Wednesday's Dynamite, but it's unconfirmed if they are officially suspended. Meltzer says he also believes the others involved in a fight will also not be brought to Buffalo. As of now, there are only 2 officially announced matches in the ROH Pure Champion Wheeler Yuta defending against Danny Garcia, and the Best Friends in Orange Cassidy versus Death Triangle. New number 1 contender MJF will also talk following his surprise return Sunday. So we still don't know anything about suspensions. I mean, they don't technically have to ever even announce that. Like, they don't have to. Like, they're not a publicly traded company. They don't have to announce that. But Punk should be gone. I love him, but this is exactly. I mean, I agree. Now, I don't love him. I've known what kind of a piece of shit he's been this whole time, but I had high hopes for him. Like, he was talking a big game. I thought maybe he had matured with his age. But this just proves, if this is a shoot, it proves he hasn't matured. If it's a work, it's proved he's regressed and gotten worse.
Some people don't mature. They just continue on doing the same shit. Because when you've had no one humble you, like genuinely humble you, you'll continue to do the same stuff over and over and over again.
And you want to know part of the fault of that? It's the fans.
Oh, yeah.
The fans have been clamoring for him for over 7 years to come back and swearing up and down that he's the greatest thing ever. His pipe bomb was the greatest thing ever, even though, by the way, that pipe bomb, 100% scripted. Bet y'all didn't know that. The whole thing, it's just, he's got his ego just inflated over and over and over again. You know what else gets lost in this? And I just saw something from Sean Ross Sapp on Fightful. They don't have a clarification yet, but after the House of Black and Sting, Darby Allin, and Miro, Malachi Black blew a kiss and bowed to the audience as an almost thank you and goodbye. And it's already been rumored that he's been asking for his release.
Yep.
Is Malachi Black gone? They can't get any answer. Right now, AEW has shut down completely as far as talking to anybody for good reason. But they can't get answers. But yeah, so even that gets lost in the shuffle. So MJF's return gets lost in the shuffle. This Malachi Black news gets lost in the shuffle. Which honestly, for Malachi Black, or maybe I should say the future Aleister Black, this getting lost and him quietly just leaving and letting all this other shit take precedent, and then he just suddenly pops up in WWE one day, would be even bigger than if it gets announced he's been released. Everybody knows where he's going because he is absolutely a Triple H boy.
Definitely.
And Triple H would supposedly he was the first person that Triple H called with this whole contract tampering, which I want to talk on that real quick. Pro wrestlers are independent contractors. The AEW contract specifically allows them to work shows in other locations, indie dates, Impact, New Japan, etc. They are open contracts, basically. There is no contract tampering with an independent contractor. So that cease and desist that AEW legal sent to WWE, I hope they framed that shit and put it up in Triple H's office. Jason says, I think Black is trying to get back to WWE. I hope he does, and we get the Dark Father storyline again. I agree.
Yep.
I agree. I think him back there with Triple H at the helm will be great. And there's a lot that can be done with it.
It's a beautiful time for him to go back to WWE if he wants to go back now. Because I mean, it's a whole new feel. Everybody's getting put into different feuds. Everybody's feeling important. Why the fuck not?
Yeah, so that would be, I guess, one very minute silver lining to all of this, that if he can just kind of sneak away and get his release quietly, and it falls at a wayside because everybody else is trying to find out what's going on with this Punk and Young Bucks and Omega situation, so people aren't even really thinking about it. And because the second his release is announced, people are counting the days till he appears on WWE. But if it sneaks under the radar and they can make a real surprise out of it, kind of like the Dakota Kai return, that was a real surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Zombie. I'll be looking forward to your TikToks on AEW. Let us know what happens. Yeah, there's, again, I guess if I had to find a silver lining in all of this, even though I don't like anybody losing their job, but when somebody's unhappy and wants to leave, let them leave.
Yeah.
And, he did the work. He did the job, this weekend, even though apparently he had asked for his release before and it was denied. But it might not have actually been denied. It might have just been like, hey, can you at least work out your story here, kind of thing. So maybe if he gets, but again, I would love for it to fall under the radar of all this news, and they use this time to like just sneak him over, because then you get a nice, wonderful surprise. Especially if it because they don't have non-compete clauses at AEW. I believe.
Yeah.
I believe they don't have the non-compete clauses on their contracts.
I don't think so because of how fast some folks came back. How fast some folks came back.
Think about this. Cody Rhodes said it took him 47 days to decide after leaving AEW to go to WWE. But that also means he could have done it the very next day. So there's no compete clause on these contracts. So if he got his release on Sunday, say that was his last match, he could be there on Friday.
Little Rick Rude.
Little Rick Rude-ish. Now, maybe he'll be there. Maybe they'll do something with House of Black on Wednesday, maybe to help close out the House of Black. Maybe Brody King and Buddy Matthews turn on him or something, but that would be a little obvious. Yeah. Jason says, I want Cross versus Black. Absolutely. Karrion Kross versus Malachi Black or Aleister Black. That would be fantastic.
Hell yeah. Just here. I don't fuck nobody says that. Aleister Black's theme is the shit.
And the whole coming up out of the ground, that has to come back. The whole rising, best entrance, just so good.
With the fucking candles and shit. I remember when Code Orange played it live for him and everything. Yes. It was awesome. It's awesome.
We definitely need that again.
That theme was my ringtone for quite a while when he first started wrestling WWE.
It's one of the